Let me begin with a few questions. Do you have problems? I think we do. Do you have problems that show up without warning? Have you ever felt overwhelmed, overworked, and stressed out? Maybe you said yes and felt like really you were hit by a Mack truck at times. If you did answer yes to any of those questions, then you're in the right place. Our speaker today is a successful entrepreneur. She's an innovator and entertainer with over 30 years of professional experience. Her work has educated and inspired thousands of individuals throughout not only North America, but in as faraway places as Japan and the Marshall Islands. As the founder and CEO of Let's Pretend Entertainment, she has led teams of performers to produce winning smiles, lasting memories, and loyal clients at fairs, festivals, and corporate events. She even invented and patented the world's only play-based hand washing station. In her words, she has served on boards, won awards, and drove big Fords. And in doing so, she's raised a wonderful family. She's not a bad cribbage player either, by the way. But in showing us today how to live with significance and lead with impact, and even when life hits you like a truck, please join me in welcoming from the Evergreen State our speaker today and consultant and recovering workaholic, Elisa Hayes. Elisa?
I'm 4, and I'm on a big stage with bright lights and a whole big audience. There's a whole line of other 4-year-olds with me, and we're dancing. Ta-da! And the curtain comes down right in front of all the little 4-year-olds, except me, because I stepped forward. And the audience is applauding. And I'm smiling and waving. And then they're laughing. Until a teacher has to come out on stage, wrap her arm around me to pull me off the stage, which I resist, of course. Right, I stand my ground on stage. And that's how my career began. From 4 until 46 years old, I was on stages at fairgrounds, all across the Western United States and on other stages throughout the country. I performed for thousands, tens of thousands of people. Up until I was once again taken off stage. And this time, not by a teacher, but by a truck. On March 1st, 2014, I was hit by a 15-ton semi-truck moving 65 miles an hour, and I wasn't in a vehicle. But where am I today? That's right. I am still on stage, and it's why I'm here to talk to you. Because what I have learned after 34 months and 17 days, 34 months and 17 days today, since the day I was taken off stage when the curtain came down, the lights went off. What I have learned is that even when life hits you like a truck, you can still be on stage and perform not what you used to do. I don't do what I used to do. But you can perform at a deeper, more meaningful, and more profound level in your life, in your work, and in everything that matters. How does that sound? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share with you my experience, what I have learned in the process. I'm going to share with you 4 very specific actions that you can take even when life hits you like a truck, so that you will always lead with impact. I know you know this feeling. I know you have had times when you felt hit by a truck. That's why we have this saying in our language, I feel like I was hit by a Mack truck. I was actually hit by a Volvo. I know you've had it. You've lost a loved one. You've lost a job. You've lost a relationship. You've lost your health. You know that feeling, right? I promise you that if you take 4 very specific actions, you too can always be a star performer. So let's get started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm sure there's a few out there. I was the CEO of Let's Pretend Entertainment. I traveled all over the Western United States and Canada, even internationally, performed halfway around the globe, performing audience participation children's theater shows, the cutest show on earth. Can you tell why? Thank you. So I was the ringmaster of the show. We had multiple units that traveled all over the country. I had performers who I trained who worked for me. I also invented and patented the world's only play-based hand washing station, Sudsy's Barn, in case you may have heard of that one. The last time I was in Reno, actually, I won a Barham Award. Yay! Well, on this particular occasion, in February of 2014, not that long ago, I loaded up in my Ford F-250 truck. Her name was Fiona. It's a chick company. Every truck has to have a name, right? Of course. So I loaded up in Fiona with Mo, Her name was actually Megan, is actually Megan, but we called her Mo because we already had a Megan. It's a thing. We loaded up in my home in Puyallup, Washington. There's my home. Isn't that lovely? That's my house. I love my house. I designed that house in Puyallup, 3 miles from the Washington State Fairgrounds. Holla! Thank you. So we loaded up, hitched up to one of our trailers, a 16-foot dual axle trailer, cargo trailer, not huge for people in this industry who are used to hauling big things. And we headed off on February 28th, 2014, we left, headed for the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. It is a long ways to Houston from Puyallup. But it's okay, I'd done it before. This was our second year in Houston to perform. I'd driven through bad weather. I grew up skiing. I'd driven in the mountains all my life, driven trucks and trailers through snowstorms. This wasn't my first rodeo. As we were driving, we were keeping an eye on the weather. A storm system was moving in to that region of the country, and we knew it. Like any responsible person out on the road, we're paying attention to the weather. We pushed hard through Idaho so that we could get ahead of the system. We were doing well. We stopped for the night in Denver, Colorado, and took off the next morning. By the time we got to Lyman, Colorado, the weather was getting bad. I stopped, I bought new wiper blades, make sure we're all equipped, do all the right things at the truck stop, and I sent these text messages to my husband. I said, roads are getting icy, I'm going to take the wheel. It's that bad, huh? It'll be okay, but better me in control if things go sideways. True, but don't go sideways. Not planning to. Smiley face. Talk about dramatic irony. We continued on. We stopped in Wichita to pick up another employee. Her name is Joy. I had met her on Skype, had never actually met her in person, hired her over the phone, was taking her to Houston to train her to perform the show. Okay. We head down I-35 from Houston, dropping straight down into Oklahoma. Who here drives that road? I know we've got a few. I-35 is a 2-lane highway going south with a center median and a 2-lane highway going north. We're driving in the right-hand lane like responsible truck drivers. I'm driving at a responsible speed for the weather. An hour south of Wichita near Blackwell, Oklahoma, the trailer tires hit black ice and swing out to the left. Instantly, everybody's attention is alert in the truck. Can you imagine what that feels like? So I, of course, did what you do. I slammed on the brakes. Okay, maybe not. I took my foot off the gas and I said to the girls, it's okay, this can happen. I stayed calm. We're going to steer into it, bring that trailer right in behind us. Good plan, right? Except I only had 2 lanes of highway to work with, and that trailer had swung hard. It wasn't coming in behind us. Instead, what happened, we slid, jackknifed with the front left corner of the truck up against the guardrail. The trailer actually swung back the other direction, so we were blocking, not all, but almost all of the highway. Now we have an emergency. I very quickly tried to bump that truck up and over, slamming on the gas as hard as I could to try and floor it through that center median, that rail, and it wouldn't budge. Mo and Joy were looking at me. I was watching the rearview mirrors. I'm the only one who could see what was coming. And what I saw, everybody who travels on the road is really familiar with this sight. The headlights of a semi. And I knew it was going to hit us within seconds. What do you do? Inside our F-250, I'm sitting in the wheel. I'm in the driver's seat. Remember, I took that on purpose. Better me in control. I took that job. Does that make me a leader? Because I took the job. If you take the job as a fair manager or as a business owner, does that make you a leader? Or does it make you in charge? In this moment of truth in my life, I got what you might call a crash course in leadership. Bump. I had employed people for years. I'd studied leadership, read about it a lot, but it wasn't until that moment, as I sat in the driver's seat, closest to safety, the side of the road was right there. I sat there having to make a choice. That's when I discovered what leadership really looks like. In an F-250, there are suicide doors, so the person sitting in the back seat has to have somebody else open the door to let them out. I'm looking at the rearview mirrors. I see the headlights coming. I turn to Mo. I say, "Get out now and run as fast as you can. Get out, run." She says, "Get out onto a highway?" "Yes, get out, run now." She gets out of the truck, and I don't move. I sat in the driver's seat with one hand on the door, one hand on the wheel, and I am watching because I am terrified that Joy won't be able to get out of this truck. And I know whoever is sitting in that truck is going to die that day. I know this in that instant. And in that instant, I really did see my life flash before my eyes. I saw my family. I saw my kids. And I still didn't move. Because there is no way I was going to run away knowing that somebody else who I was responsible for could die in that moment. Would you? I discovered that real leadership takes courage. Not daring, not walking a tightrope, not brave, but courage, which comes from the French word courage, meaning with heart. Real leaders act with heart, even if it's going to cost you. That's courage. Mo and Joy got out of the truck and ran. Mo slipped and fell, but got back up off the ice. And they made it to the side of the road safely. We were hit by a semi that hit the trailer, then by a Toyota Sequoia SUV that hit the back end of the truck, and then a third vehicle, a semi that was going 65 miles on cruise control, and never touched the brakes. Hit my body outside of the truck as I was trying to flee to safety. I was hit and thrown 90 feet through the air, impaled on a cable guardrail in the center median, and still conscious. My almost last word on the planet, I can't repeat here, but can you blame me? My dad later said, well, that sounds about like you. This is what our truck looked like. Anybody who had been sitting in that truck would have died that day. I nearly died that day. Amazingly, an ambulance was able to get there within 17 minutes of the call. I was taken overland 65 miles in an ice storm to the nearest Trauma 1 center in Wichita, Kansas, which I hear from the news has just undergone, ironically and sadly, an enormous ice storm. I hope everyone's safe. So I was taken to an ICU, and my family received a phone call 1,800 miles away that I had less than a 5% chance of survival. My mom, who is a retired physician, heard all of my injuries, and she said they were being kind. They wanted to give hope where there really wasn't any. What I learned in that moment is that real leaders put others first. If you take this one action, if you ignore the other 3 that I'm going to share with you, but you do this one thing, you will already be a remarkable star performer in everything you do in your life. I promise you. Put others first. Be willing to be the one who'll sit at the wheel when everybody else has to run. Are you willing to do that? There is nothing special or remarkable or amazing about me. I am just like you. I am you. I am this family. And if I can do it, I know you can too. Do you believe me? Because I believe in you. I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. In the hospital, my husband flew in, my mother. My mother was expecting to bring home her daughter's body. That's a hard thing to know. A week and a half after the collision, I opened my eyes. The ceiling is the color of a pale manila folder. The walls a matching bland. One whole wall, including the door, is made of glass. On the other side, I can see the nurse's station and blurry figures moving about purposefully. Glaringly bright lights shine from every surface and blink on machines in the form of ever-changing numbers, so many numbers. Electrical cords and tubes snake across surfaces and drape from poles like living vines. Elisa, you've been in an accident. Yes, I've been in an accident. Sweetheart, I'm right here. They're taking really good care of you. Honey, this is Mom. This is Mom. If you can hear me, hold my hand. Okay, Steve's here. Mom is here. How long have I been here? Elisa, you've been in an accident. You're in Wichita, Kansas. I'm in Kansas? Elisa, Elisa, you've been in an accident. You're in Wichita, Kansas. They keep talking to me like I'm brain dead. I don't think I'm brain dead. I was kept in a medically induced coma for a week and a half. My injuries were massive. I had broken ribs, a collapsed lung, punctured diaphragm, lacerated kidneys, broken hand, broken leg, head trauma, and that's not even the bad news. My pelvis was broken in what's called a book fracture. So if you take your hands and put them out in front of you like you're holding a book, go ahead, you can just do this. It's like, then you'll get it. You're holding a book, now close the book. Yeah, that's what happened to my pelvis. It broke in half and shattered in pieces that the doctor said he could never even find. Amazingly, they were able to put me back together. Wouldn't you like to have that roller coaster ride at your fairgrounds? I think one of our carnival companies can build one of those. Would it be totally inappropriate to call it Ride Elisa's Pelvis? Maybe I shouldn't have said that. This is on camera, that was. Unfortunately, part of my time included going fully septic as I took all the blunt force on this left side. This was all wide open. My pelvis was shattered in 4 chunks that were sticking out of the skin, not attached to anything else here. About 2 weeks into my ICU stay, I almost died again, went septic. They had to go in and do an amputation. I am an amputee. Can you tell where? This is good, this is good. Right? You never quite know what you're looking at, do you? Life is kind of like that. They had to remove all of the gluteal muscles on the left side, gluteus maximus, minimus, medius, which means all my jokes are legitimately half-assed. After they took me off life support, they pulled out all the tubes, finally working on my voice. I see my family, they're in so much pain. My mother, my husband, my sister had arrived. They're just in so much pain. I can see it in their eyes. And the nurse says to me, Elisa, I don't know why they always talk to you that way, but they do. Elisa, would you like something? Can I get you something to drink? So I say, yeah. Can I have a beer? Why did I say that, besides my absolutely legitimate love of good beer? I said it to lighten the load, to lighten the pain that I saw in other people's eyes. Real leaders use comedy to help people get a laugh. When it's stressful in your office, when it's stressful at a fairgrounds, when you don't have what you need, and I know that never happens, getting all worked up, adding to the trouble, doesn't help anybody. So make a joke. It doesn't have to be a good joke. It can be a half-assed joke. Get a laugh. That's what real leaders do. They act with courage and put others, just checking to see if you're paying attention. They use comedy to get a, oh good, we're all on the same page. Right. When you get a laugh, when I get a laugh, don't you think it was horrifying the first time I looked in the mirror and I saw I am actually missing half my butt? It's like a drum roll. Ta-da! It was horrifying. I'm not gonna lie. It's not like I think it's funny all the time. But I do think it's pretty funny most of the time. We make a lot of jokes about it. We make a lot of jokes about my wheelchair. That even though I can walk, and you see this, I don't walk very far. The wheelchair is a real part of my life all the time, and to answer your questions, no, it's not going to get any better. And in fact, this is about the best it's ever going to get. But we make a lot of jokes about it. And we have fun. That's leadership. Leaders use courage and comedy. And the next thing, leaders use creativity. I have to be really creative in how I manage my life. I am hybrid handicapped. I gotta figure things out all the time. That takes creativity, right? Creativity is something I'm familiar with. I created multiple shows. One of the shows that I created, called Let's Pretend Pirate Adventure, in 2008. I created this show. Now, I had already created 3 other shows before that one, so I thought I knew what I was doing, right? I'm a professional. I got this. I show up to perform the first time with the Let's Pretend Pirate Adventure. I've got all of the pirate hats and the garb, and we've got the sets and the props and the costumes, and everything's cool. It looks great. I've got the audience. We get them all excited. That's what we know how to do. And I say to kids, who wants to be a pirate? And now all these hands go up for all these 4-year-olds. They want to be a pirate. Who doesn't want to be a pirate? Right? I bring up this group of kids dressed as pirates, put them on stage. I am standing in front of them. I'm saying, all right, mateys, my name is Captain Mary. Why do pirates always talk with a British accent? I don't know. My name is Captain Mary, and we're going to be setting sail. So I tell the kids, we're going to set sail. And they just stand there. They have no idea what I'm talking about. We're going to haul an anchor. Seriously, no joke. I am being paid at this event, and the kids are just standing there, and this is mortifying to me. Because it had never actually occurred to me, the kids have no idea what hoisting sails or pulling an anchor looks like. Don't we do that all the time? We give directions to people. We assume that they know what they're doing. And oftentimes they'll just stand there looking at you because they have no idea what you're talking about. Or they'll try and fake it because you have no idea what you're talking about. I have this problem when I try to communicate with people about my accessibility needs. Because they have no idea what I'm talking about. They don't have that frame of reference. They don't know how to think about it. At your fairgrounds, I've been to a lot of these fairgrounds in a wheelchair. I can tell you, you don't know how to think about it. Just saying. So what did I do with the pirate show? I've got this group of kids all standing there just staring at me, and I'm all dressed in full-on pirate garb, and the audience looking at me like, this is the dumbest show I have ever seen. And I asked myself, okay, this is all happening super quick in showtime. What if the audience played the parts and they showed the kids how to do it? What if we get people who actually know what I'm talking about, sales and so on, and they show the people who don't know what I'm talking about? Makes sense, right? So I say to the audience, sails up. I'm going to stand here like this until you join me, or it's going to get awkward for all of us. There we go. Sails up, matey. See, you're grown-ups. You know how to follow along. There we are, and we're going hard to port. That would be my port. There we go, hard to starboard. And pretty soon the kids are on stage, and they're doing this, and they're doing this, and we're coming to a stop. I don't know why my ship stops that way. But let's pretend. And suddenly, we have a show. Because I thought, what if I do it differently? What if I reverse the show? Key question. One of the other things I did, we mentioned Sudsy's Barn. That's me right there visiting Sudsy's Barn at the Alaska State Fair where they own their own. It was built for them. My staff, my team actually managed to get that all accomplished while I was in the hospital. My whole team managed to fulfill, in 5 months, over $500,000 worth of contracts, all without the captain on deck. Through a tremendous amount of support from my community, my clients, my friends. But I want to talk about Sudsy right there for just a minute. And the thought process, the creativity that goes into that is all about asking, what if? What if hand washing was fun? We in this industry, we've got a big problem, right? We have whole sessions on E. coli, lots of preventative measures that are fabulous. But I approached it differently. I approached it from a creative mindset of asking, what if it was fun to wash your hands? Because it's kind of not normally, right? What if? In my world now, disabled, for life, with serious health problems, those words, what if, are usually attached to fear. That's the only time we ever use those words. But what if you only ask that question looking for a creative solution? What if, instead of asking, oh, what if this happens, or what if that happens, or what if I have this problem? Instead, turn it around, just like I did with the pirate show. Turn it around. When you have problems and you're needing solutions, instead of using the words, what if, about fear, what if we could turn it around? That's a leadership question. A management question is, how do we get this done? A leadership question is, what if we can do it differently? I travel around independently in my wheelchair, which is an amazing feat, not just physically because of my limitations. I had a serious traumatic brain injury. And I say serious, more serious than we let anybody know, because to be really truthful, I was afraid that if my industry knew the extent of my brain injury, that all opportunities in my future would close down. When I was in the hospital, they gave me various cognitive tests. I couldn't do 4th grade math. I'd run a company. Now I can't do a 4th grade story problem. I get lost in it even when they give me pencil and paper and a calculator, and I swear I wasn't that bad at math before. I couldn't read at all. I got out of the hospital, my staff is running my company, and the boss can't even read. I asked, what if I could read? What would that look like? So I worked at it a lot. Every day, I worked and worked and worked. And the first book that I was able to read how Starbucks saved my life. I love Starbucks. I travel all over the country and go to Starbucks everywhere, but I'm from Seattle. It feels like home. I went to Starbucks in Tokyo because it felt like home. Now, I know if you've got your coffee opinions or whatever, that's not the point. Last July, so not that long ago, I was in Phoenix for a conference of the National Speakers Association, because I do that too, and I'm wheeling around in my chair like this. Now, in my chair, hang on, I want to go to Starbucks and get coffee. Does anybody see a problem here? I didn't have the cup holder at the time. I go to the counter and I say to the barista on the other side, hi, I would like a grande iced latte, that's 16 ounces. I'd like a grande iced latte, double cupped, but in a venti cup, which is 20 ounces. So I have extra room so I don't go all thigh master on the cup that I have to hold between my knees. You know, awkward. Now that I think about it, it was awkward just showing you that. She looks at me like she hears what I'm saying. She understands. She's a barista. It's her job to provide coffee, right? Perfect. So I wheel on down to the end. Everybody knows their Starbucks routine, right? You order here, you pick up down here. I wheel on down to this end where I am handed an iced venti latte filled all the way up to the brim. That I take and I start gulping down my latte so that I can put it between my knees and not go all thigh master on it. Aggravating. But okay, whatever. This happens every single day at this conference. I leave, go to the airport, at the Phoenix airport. You all know how it is after a conference. You know you start drinking more and more coffee as this conference goes on, right? So by the end, by the time you get to the airport and you're ready to go, you're like, oh my gosh, I need coffee. Give me coffee now. I go to the Starbucks counter in my wheelchair. And I say, I would like an iced grande latte with extra room in a venti cup, double cupped, so that I don't, thigh master it. Very specific about this. And then I wheel down to the other end where the counter is this high, up here, and I'm down here. And I'm handed, well, no, I'm not really handed, set on the counter just out of my reach is an iced venti latte filled all the way to the brim and not double cupped. Oh my gosh. So I reach and I grab the coffee. I'm like, okay, fine, thank you. Trying to suck this coffee down while turning around. There's people all around me. As I turn around this way, a gentleman says, oh, your other coffee is up. What? So I turn back around. The barista, who's not making any eye contact, not really seeing the person, she's seeing a coffee order. And she sets it up on the counter, out of my reach. And it's a second iced latte filled all the way to the brim in a venti cup. So apparently the double part from the double cup got doubled, and I say, no, I think this one's just going to be for you. I really just need an extra cup. So she sets down an extra venti cup, just out of my reach. Are you kidding me? A customer grabs the cup, hands it to me. I was like, oh my gosh, welcome to my world. And I turn around and I wheel off. Now, this is kind of fun. I got a little aggravated. You don't want to aggravate somebody who can speak for a living. Here's a hot tip. So I went home and I made a video on my front porch, sitting in my wheelchair where I tell this story and say, Starbucks, the very first book I was able to read after getting hit in the head by a semi was How Starbucks Saved My Life. And now all you have done is aggravate my life. Well, the video went viral, and I got a phone call from Starbucks headquarters. True story. I had a lovely conversation with a gentleman from Starbucks headquarters. He was, of course, very apologetic, and we talked a lot about having compassion for other people at work and what compassion looks like. I told him this isn't an ADA issue. I could make it an ADA issue, but that's not what this is about. It's about seeing a person. We all want to be seen. I put kids on stage for a living, thousands of them, so that they could be seen as a person, not a project. Real compassion sees people. And those baristas were looking at a project. Their project was to make me coffee. Wrong. Their project was to deal with a person. I ended up talking to the district manager in charge of the Phoenix area. He's just wonderful, delightful, delightful man. He says, if I ever go through Phoenix, we're going to get together and chat. He's actually in charge of the one at the Marriott and at the airport. So as you can imagine, he had received a phone call. We're friends, it's all good. And Starbucks is, I'm not throwing them under the bus here. And in fact, he sent me my very own special made hard plastic with permanent label, iced grande coffee with extra room in a venti cup. Leaders show compassion and they focus on feelings. What does it feel like on your fairgrounds? If you're here with a fair, if you are a service member here, what does it feel like when people come to your show and they're in a wheelchair? Do you know what it feels like to try and use a bathroom on your fairgrounds? Do you know what it feels like to try and push yourself up a ramp that is too steep to get into a grandstand? Washington State Fair, I love you to death, but I'm throwing you under the bus on this one. It's too steep. It requires somebody else pushing you. And do you know what it feels like to require somebody else to help you with everything? I started this journey from laying in a bed, not even able to breathe for myself. How important do you think my independence is? Can you feel what that feels like? Human dignity requires that we connect to what it feels like. Not what we think is right, not what codes say, not what the job is. That's a task, that's a project. It's not a person. And when we focus on feelings, we allow for people's dignity. We get real. And we show compassion. That's what real leadership looks like. Well, my story didn't end in Wichita. Real leaders build powerful communities. And as it turns out, I have gathered, I didn't build it, I magnetized around me an incredible, powerful community of people. You people. 7 weeks in an ICU, in Wichita, Kansas, and my insurance would not fly me home. I was stable to be transferred, but it was a $30,000 medical jet flight. Couldn't just load me on Delta Airlines. And my insurance wouldn't pay for it. We tried, we really tried. At the urging of a number of friends in the fair industry, a GoFundMe was created. And on Good Friday, my husband showed up in the hospital room. He said, "Baby, we're going home." Over $54,000 had been donated in less than 2 weeks. That is right. To fly me home. So I profited $24,000 on the deal. I want to thank you. Okay, not quite. I flew home, went to 2 more hospitals. After a total of 105 days, I finally arrived back home. Unfortunately, 6 months later, I was back in the hospital, had a major surgery. But the really big deal is that on September 1st, 2015, my brother gave me a kidney. He's the real hero. My kidneys had failed, unfortunately, because of the accident, and they weren't coming back. My brother was an excellent match, good DNA. He's 12 years younger, so I upgraded. Unfortunately, because it can't be an easy story, turns out my brother is 1% of the population that has multiple renal arteries. That means instead of having just 1 artery going to each kidney, he had 3 to his left kidney and 4 to his right kidney. And I'm a super complex trauma patient with all kinds of scar tissue and so on and whatnot. And the University of Washington said, "We're going to take a pass. It's too complicated. We won't do it." Ouch. That was a bad day. Once again, I felt hit by a truck on that day. So we had a good cry, and then we got busy. And my husband instantly responded with comedy when I told him, and he said, "Of course not." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Oh no, because that's not a good story. You need a good story to tell." The story is we found doctors who would do the surgery on the other side of the country at the University of Maryland in Baltimore, which meant that GoFundMe also paid to fly me and my brother and our spouses and our dad all the way across the country where I had to live for a month after surgery in Baltimore. And you helped make that happen. This community made that happen. Real leadership that uses courage by putting others first. Comedy, getting a laugh, we're in the entertainment business. That's what we do, right? Creativity, asking what if. Of course we have to be creative. Look at the events we all set up. And compassion, focusing on feelings. When you do those 4 things, you build a powerful community around you that can accomplish things like this. It's amazing. These are the qualities of a star performer. When you're interviewing and looking for people in your organizations, I implore you to look for people who have the qualities of courage, comedy, creativity, and compassion. Cultivate these qualities in your companies, in your businesses, in your fairs. That's how you build strong communities around you that can withstand anything, including getting hit by a truck. Now remember that little girl at the beginning of the story? the little 4-year-old. My friends, I want you to know that even when life hits you like a truck and the curtain comes down on you, you can step up, stand out, get a laugh. Thank you.